Welcome, everyone, to Reaching Forward Fridays. We're so happy to have you here. I am Heidi Knuth, chair of the Reaching Forward Committee, and we're here with Gail Johnson. And a huge thank you to ILA for helping us host all of these events. Tam is here with us from ILA, and she'll be running the Q&A in the chat. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat window during this presentation, and we'll answer them as soon as we can. Today's presentation is Awkward, Ill-Timed, and Startling Situations. And Gail is here with us. She's one of our most popular presenters from the Reaching Forward Conference. She founded Face-to-Face Communications in 1997 and has been doing presentations like this for public and private sector organizations for over 20 years. Thank you so much, Gail, and we're excited to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon. It's so good to be here with you virtually. I'm going to get started right away. So you all know that moment when in a blink of an eye, your mood changes, your mind is swirling, and you feel instant stress because the right thing to say is stuck between your head and your mouth. Now, this awkward occurrence is natural because the brain is suddenly overloaded by either worry or pressure, and we find ourselves unable to respond in a critical moment. Well, here's the good news. Today, I'm going to talk about many of these situations, all of them real from libraries I've worked with and been in, and I'm going to give you words and phrases to have at the ready when these things arise. We're going to start with a little fun. Tam is going to put up 4 polls, one at a time, and we're going to play Would You Rather. So as you see the poll come up, just pick which one you would rather. Here's the first one. Would you rather rush to the finish or enjoy the ride? Go ahead and vote, and when Tam sees 70 or so votes, we'll post the results. Would you rather number 1? We have a lot of enjoy the ride, but 9 rush to the finish. All right, let's post the next one. Would you rather move to a new city or town every week or never be able to leave the city or town you were born in? Go ahead and cast your vote. I should have some of that Jeopardy music. All right, a little more diversity in this one. Still the majority, never be able to leave the city or town you were born in. All right, the third one. Would you rather be silent or be heard? Cast your vote. Okay, good. But still quite a bit of difference. And then our last one. Would you rather have edible spaghetti hair that grows every night or sweat maple syrup? Cast your vote. Okay, 84% have edible spaghetti hair. Thanks, Tam, for doing those polls. The point of the polls is that we each bring different perspectives to any given situation. We also see things and interpret things differently. So when it comes to difficult situations, challenging situations, awkward, ill-timed situations, there is not a one-size-fits-all. You may see something as a crisis and your peer may see no problem at all. So consider this for a moment. You're in a restaurant, and it's the first time out in months, and so you and your friends decide to go have a great steak. And you're sitting there ordering, and your food comes. You've had a couple of drinks, you're talking, and your steak is more rare than you like. What do? Tam, would you launch that poll? And again, these are anonymous. Would you do nothing? Ask your server to take it back to the kitchen. Ask when they started serving raw beef. Tell your friends you're not that hungry and just eat your salad. Ask your server for something else to eat, or do or say something else. Cast your vote, and we'll take a look at those results. All right, now this situation is awkward for some people. I have had people tell me they wouldn't say anything because they wouldn't want to embarrass their friends. Or it's not the server's fault, we shouldn't take it out on them. Or lots of other things that come to mind. But yet, as you can see from the results in this poll, thank you, Tam, they're all different because we see things differently. Now, the other thing about challenging situations is that in addition to seeing things differently, we also are challenged because they feel personal. When someone invades your personal space, makes an offensive remark, does something completely unexpected and unwelcome, it is personal. Add to this the mood that you're in when it happens, and we can't help but take something personally. For instance, if I'm in an early morning staff meeting and Sam speaks up with the same idea I just gave but was ignored, and everyone thinks it's great, how do I feel? Well, if I'm in a great mood, I might shrug it off as perhaps I didn't speak up loud enough, or maybe they were focused on the talker or the speaker before me. However, if I've had an argument with my teen on the way to work, or I have a terrible migraine, or my mother was just taken to the hospital, I might take it as just one more thing the world has decided to throw my way today. Because we all take things differently, perceive things differently, there is no one way to handle them. So today I'll attempt to offer responses as diverse as we are. Whatever the situation, the goal is to resolve the issue, and preferably resolve it in such a way that it doesn't happen again. I'm going to say that one more time. We want to resolve the issue in a way that it doesn't happen again. So let's take a situation that could happen in any of your libraries. A rather typical scenario. A young mom with 5 small active kids walks in. She's standing at the front desk and yelling at her kids to settle down. They start crying and yelling and fighting with one another. How do you handle this? What do you do? I'm going to ask Tam to put up another poll for us. Check your preferred choice. Do you do nothing, knowing she'll figure it out? Intervene with some library swag for the kids? Suggest you step aside and let you take care of the next person in line? Send them to the children's department? Smile and offer an empathetic statement? Ask how may I help? Or something else? Cast your vote and we'll take a look at what we put. All right, here we go. Oh, 29% of us would offer some library swag, 27% smile and offer an empathetic statement. Ask, how can I help? Some say nothing, and then something else. That's great. Thanks, Tam. The goal is to resolve the issue, hopefully in a way that it won't come again. And there were many different answers, none of them right or wrong. I'm going to share with you the 4 things to remember when we're caught off guard. The first one is to have patience. Here, it's take a deep breath, count to 5, clear your throat. A friend of mine would always drop a pen that she had in her hand to give her a few moments to just pull it together. Patience in this case is just another way of saying stop before you say or do anything. Now, patience is something that you can practice and grow more of over time. This is a perfect time while we're sheltered in place to practice patience, especially if you're living with anybody else, even a pet. Take an entire day where you make patience your goal for the day. Everything that happens, take it in and live in the moment. Now, I want you to be careful during this patience step, because if you take a deep breath, that sounds more like, oh, that, the person standing in front of you will not be appreciative of it. So just a slow breath. And it's during these 5 seconds that you make a crucial decision. And the decision is if you should say and do something or not. And it's going to happen that quickly. We're going to come back to the let it goes in a little while. But this is the part where you just breathe to give yourself a minute to collect your thoughts, make that crucial decision, and move on. The second step is to apologize if appropriate. I'm sorry you were surprised to learn we aren't allowing the public access to our book stacks just yet. I'm sorry I can't find this for you quickly. I'm sorry you feel that way. A small apology can go a long way. Now, as with every rule, there are exceptions. Saying I'm sorry too often makes you sound and appear passive, not assertive, and it may lead over time to people not taking you seriously. And I can come back to that a little bit later. All right, the third tip, and I love this word, resist superciliousness. And the superciliousness is the feeling superior, lording yourself over them, telling them you already told them something. We posted it online. It's been in our newsletter for 2 months. Didn't you get the email we sent out on that? This is just like saying, for all of you Will and Grace fans out there, told you so, told you so, told you, told you, told you so, and it does not set well with the person in front of you. So resist telling them you already told them. Choose your words wisely so it adds in resolving the conflict, because that is our goal. All right, let's have a little more fun. I'm going to give you some more situations. A child has been running around while his mother is using the computers in the adult services section. Another customer has commented either to you or sighed loud enough for you to hear, and you've decided to be a little proactive. So you head over to the children's department, grab a few books, bring them back, and suggest the child sit behind his mother and take a look. The mother turns to you and says, I didn't know librarians were supposed to dish out parenting advice along with internet services. What do you do? And we have another poll. Nothing. Say, look, lady, you can keep him quiet or leave. I'm sorry you took it that way. I was trying. I thought your son might enjoy. I didn't mean to imply you needed help parenting. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I seem too forward. I'm trying to keep all of our customers happy, including your son. Here's the issue. Your son's running is bothering some of our customers. This should help keep him occupied. Ask, how can I help? Or something else. Go ahead and cast your vote. All right, 33% of you like the I'm sorry if I seem forward. I'm trying to keep all of our customers happy. Again, there's no wrong one. Well, except for the look lady, you can keep him quiet or leave. That would be wrong, wouldn't it? Doing nothing is always an option, not my first one, especially if this has been going on for a while. But I'd like you always to think about how are we going to resolve the issue. Your issue is just to keep this little boy quiet so he's not bothering other people or hurting himself. Tam, is there anything in the chat or in regards to this one?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm not hearing. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, here's another one. A man in a business suit approaches you and says angrily, I was told you can't find the book I returned. Are you calling me a liar? Just because you people can't find it doesn't mean I didn't return it. Okay, I have no poll on this one, so we're just going to chat about it for a minute. Again, patience. Take a breath, because now you have an accusation coming at you. I would not apologize in this case. I would redirect. I didn't mean to imply you were lying. Resist at all costs, telling him to look under the front seat of his car or behind the sofa at home. It will only escalate the situation. This person's already upset, and you know it from his choice of words. Tell him what you can do. Think about how you can resolve the situation. He's upset. I would be happy to help stop the fines from accumulating on your account until we can locate the book. Notice I said the word we, indicating this would be the library looking as well as the customer. Anything else you can think of? If you've got a great solution for this one, go ahead and type it in the chat there, and Tam will tell us. The goal here is to resolve the situation so that it doesn't come up again. All right, here's another one. Are you aware there's a very dirty man sleeping in the chair over there? What are you going to do about it? Again, patience is number one.
Gail, I'm sorry to interrupt. Gail,
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I believe we have, from the previous question, a panelist, an attendee said, not a problem, sir. We can mark this book as returned. I will send out an email to make sure that it sends out a notice for all the libraries to look out for it. Meanwhile, we can keep looking for it, and you won't have to worry about fines.
Perfect. Thank you, Tam. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in there. All right. Someone is dirty and somebody has complained. So your patience also comes with some empathy in this one. Could be a homeless person, could be someone in distress, could be a child that's full of mud and fell asleep for a nap. So you decide if, again, you will say anything. Thank you for telling me. I'll check it out. What else could we say? If you already know about the person sleeping and it's not an issue for you, you might use the phrase, help me to understand what you're concerned about. He doesn't seem to be bothering anyone. Help me to understand why you're telling me is what you're asking them. Again, resolve it in an issue. This is one I might just let lie. Thank you for telling me. I'll check it out. My guess is this woman will leave and be fine after she's gone. Here's another situation. This one hits a hot button. Hey, babe, can you point me in the direction of the Bachelor cookbooks? Patience. Decide if you ignore the babe part of the comment and simply say, in the 640s, what else might you say? Again, we all take these situations differently. every one of us. There's also the scenario where somebody says something that is vulgar, sexual, inflammatory. They're under the influence or something else. I'm going to share a true story that happened to me about 4 years ago. I was working with a client of a 450 employee company. It was a call center, and we had been working with them for months and working with their managers and having a great time. The president of that company was also on the board of a not-for-profit company in the same town. The not-for-profit also had a great deal of employees, and he arranged a meeting with the president of that company himself and me and my partner at the time, Pam, who has retired from face-to-face. So we went in through to the meeting, and we had agreed to do some work for this not-for-profit. And when we got up to leave, the man in whose company I had been working for months stood up and gave me a kiss smack on the lips. I was stunned, to say the least. It was inappropriate. I was caught off guard. I didn't say a thing. So please know that sometimes when I say have these things at the ready, there are situations that will catch us off guard and we will not have words for. However, if I had been prepared, I would have said something like, "That's the most inappropriate thing anyone's ever done to me." And believe me, I wouldn't have cared about the money, the job, anything else. It felt like such an assault on who I was. And I'm hearing more and more in our libraries that there are instances where a customer is inappropriate with a staff member, continues to ask them out even after they have said no. So here's my tip for these situations. If someone is bold enough to come in and address you in this way, you need to be straightforward and direct in your response. Do not be subtle. People don't get subtle, especially in these circumstances. When the woman that was complaining about somebody sleeping in the library, there you can be vague. Here you cannot. So your statements must be direct. I am not interested in going out with you. No, I will not give you my phone number. Seriously, I'm not interested. Please stop asking me. Next time I will call my supervisor. If you continue to use that language, I will call the police. No smiling, no laughing, follow through and tell someone. The decision of when do you tell someone when someone else has been bothering you, it should be immediate. As soon as possible, so that your coworkers can begin to rescue you. How many of you have rescue plans in place in your libraries? And I'm seeing a few more questions here, Tam. Do I need to go back, perhaps?
No, actually, I checked with that person with the question, and she said you answered her question. So.
Okay, good, thank you. And if I don't get to them now, we will get to them at the end. So feel free to have those there. You need plans in place for rescuing one another. They can be simple, they can be complex. It doesn't matter to me. Here are what a few libraries that I know use. A yellow folder. I need that yellow folder for my meeting this afternoon. There are no yellow folders. Everybody in the library knows that's a flag. Red pencil is one that I've heard used. Can you get me a red pencil, please? They know they need help. I prefer more direct. I need a little help here, please. Often you can use your staff chat if you really do pay attention to it, although I did hear some startling news one time, staff chat, somebody said, I need help at the desk, and they thought it was help because there were a lot of people there, and it was ignored, and it was really a problem customer. So you're going to need to know, do you put 911? Do you have a code for emergency? Do you say, really need help? What is the code word? Some desks have buzzers. Some people have a bell. Now, I mention this because it's important to know that you all have the authority at any time to call another staff member or the police. And I will challenge you, I've not met a director yet that would fire somebody for calling the police and deciding later we didn't need to do that. If you feel threatened or you think a staff member or a member is threatened, call the police. Sound an alarm. It's okay to do that. Years ago when we had flashers in the stacks, I haven't heard it lately, but it has happened. People were reluctant to call the police. There should be no reluctance to call the police. It's important that you feel safe and that your staff feels safe, the coworkers that you work with. I thought of a situation that might come up too about our masks. I won't talk to you with that mask on. We have this anti-mask movement rumbling in Illinois, at least where I live, maybe some other places. I want to make sure that we know your job is to keep yourself safe, your other members safe, and your coworkers. And so if somebody is not cooperating, call for help and rescue your coworkers. There's a story a long time ago of my daughter. She worked for our local park district. And there was a man that would come in every afternoon and tell jokes. They were not inappropriate. They were just cornball jokes. But he would stay for an hour telling jokes, chatting with the staff. My daughter got a job at the park district. Her first day on the job, this man, whose name was Scott, came in, started telling his jokes, and everybody else disappeared. Because that's what we tend to do, right? We tend to leave people alone when somebody is there. Don't do that. Rescue them. You probably do it with your friends when you're out for an evening. My husband and I have done it for 42 years. If one of us needs rescuing at a party or at an event, you have a signal. Go up and rescue them. Even just standing beside them now makes two of you. And it makes the other person who's being awkward and making you uncomfortable a little bit uncomfortable. And that's a fine thing to do. There is no worries there. All right, I'm going to move on to something a little bit lighter. Let's say a customer has been waiting at the door for you to open, brushes past you as you open the door and murmurs, "Would it kill you to open that door at 8:55? Geez." What do you say? In every situation, you must decide if you say something or if you simply let it go. For instance, when a child during story time tells you you have whiskers on your chin, or when people accuse me of not liking cats because I use dog pictures in my presentation, or any of these. Tam, I'm going to ask you to pop up that poll for let it go, please. A couple are arguing loudly while they walk past your desk on their way out of the building. After your travel program in Italy, a participant lets you know how extensively he travels and that you missed a lot of gems in your presentation. A woman calls to see how late you're open tonight, and when you respond with 9 p.m., she says, "Geez, you must not have kids." A customer continues their cell phone conversation while you are checking them out. A young dad approaches upon leaving the library and says, "I can't imagine why we pay so much in taxes for all these old books." Which ones would you let go? You may choose more than one. Okay, let's see what results we have. Okay. Many of you, a majority, would let every one of these go. It's interesting. Again, it depends on our mood when it happens, who else is around, your history with the person, and some other things. So here's a trick I learned from another old TV show called Dharma and Greg. When you need to let something go, you simply put it in a bubble and then let it go. And sometimes that is the best thing you can do for your own stress as well as other people's stress. So keep that in mind. Now, occasionally, situations come up with our coworkers that are also awkward, ill-timed, and startling. For instance, when someone wears too much cologne or perfume. Same person keeps getting moldy food in the fridge. Someone steals food from the fridge. Someone consistently extends their break or their lunch, presents your ideas as their own. When a statement is made that you believe is wrong, and when you're asked to stay late and you cannot. All of these can be awkward. I'm going to share with you a few of my favorite words and phrases. These are also in a handout that I think Tam has already posted for you, and there are many of them, but here are a few of my favorites. Did you know and are you aware are two phrases, and you can flip in between them depending on what you're more comfortable saying. It's a way to bring attention to a situation. Sometimes people are not aware of how their behavior affects others. And I know that sounds strange. You're like, of course they know, but sometimes we don't. So here, the did you know? Did you know that when you take too long a break, it prevents someone else from starting their break on time? Did you know that when you come back late from lunch, it means that I can't have lunch with my husband, and we have this time checked out every Wednesday? Are you aware that the smell of your moldy food affects the lunch that we're having? You can do different things. The phrase help me to understand is great for all kinds of situations. Help me to understand why you chose to do it this way. I also like to use this is my preference. When somebody says, well, what would you do? Tell them, this is my preference. This is how I prefer to handle it. Someone steals your idea. Thanks for highlighting my point. Perhaps we can work on this together. It's a great way instead of saying, hey, I said that 10 minutes ago. Thanks for highlighting my point. If someone asks you to stay late or do something that you really don't want to do, just say, excuse me, I have another commitment. I'm unable to do that at this time. It is perfectly fine to say that and to make sure that they know you are sincere about it. Sometimes the cologne, the perfume can be taken wrong. I do it as simply as, are you aware that I have terrible allergies? Which is true. And your cologne really makes my nose run throughout the day. I would appreciate it if. Or maybe that's all you have to say and they will take it from there. I have found that when we are direct with people and when we say exactly what's on our mind, we most often get the results that we want. It's that directness that people are looking for, and knowing that you have their best interest as well as yours in mind at all times. So I'm going to share one last slide with you, and then feel free, I'm going to take some questions. So individual perspectives affect our responses in every situation when it comes to awkward, ill-timed, or startling situations. Patience is king here. It's the most important thing. Take time and breathe. Be prepared with key words and phrases, and then know when to let it go. when to simply not say something. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask you if there's some other questions that you would like to ask based on anything I've said today. So we'll open up the chat and take a look. All right, I am not seeing anything there, ladies.
No one's asked a question yet. I'm monitoring it too.
Okay,
So.
all right.
Everyone, don't be shy, please, please, please. If you have a question, now's the great. Oh, here's the first one. Wouldn't people perceive you as weak in situations where you say or do nothing?
That's a great question. Not usually. It also depends on your demeanor. So use your face to your benefit there. Don't be afraid to let them know. You know, with a smile on your face when you're walking away, it's all right to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But a great question.
Oh, sorry. How do you speak to a boss that is not very nice to you?
As nicely as possible. And I use the help me to understand. So it depends on how they are not being nice. When something comes up, I would address it then. Help me to understand how I didn't meet your expectations. Help me to understand how I could have done this differently to make you happy. Help me to understand how what I'm doing isn't meeting with your approval. And so it would depend on the specific situation. If you have something specific, I threw my information up here. Feel free to get hold of me. You can email me directly or call or text my phone number, and I would be happy to chat with you a little more directly about specifics. Sometimes we have to manage our bosses. It happens. And if you use words carefully and choose them well, you certainly can do that. So at least it makes your current situation more bearable.
Another question, scene from the past. A fellow employee is accosted by a patron outside the library in a grocery store. That was the end. I guess in there asked, how do you handle that?
I would hope that the library would consider banning that person from the library, or at least making people aware. I have seen pictures circulated of problem people. For instance, if someone's been stalked in the past, pictures can be used. We had a situation at our village hall when I was village president, and the person's picture was at every workstation so that if they came in, not only could they alert the person, matter of fact, they didn't even know who it was that had been stalked, but they alerted somebody that there was a person in the building that wasn't supposed to be, or that could be a problem. Hopefully that person would share that situation with their immediate supervisor, so at least there were two of you who knew the situation and somebody could get you to safety. Very difficult, but it would have to be handled very gingerly, but should be handled, absolutely.
Another question, how to deal with a supervisor who likes to bring up politics a lot. I think it's inappropriate, but I am often trapped in an office with them.
I would use I would be direct on this one. I am uncomfortable with your conversations surrounding politics. We may agree on some things, we may disagree on some things, but I don't want it to come between our work relationship. I would appreciate it if you would stop. If it doesn't, was this a supervisor? I can't remember.
Yes,
if this was a supervisor or a it's a supervisor. I would just say it like that, I'm uncomfortable. I feel that you are pushing your politics on me, and as your employee, that is extremely uncomfortable.
Another question, what if you have a higher tolerance for a behavior than others? Example, our security guard asked me if a group of kids were being too loud and if she should do something about it. I replied with a no, but also mentioned I have a high tolerance for noise. Any thoughts regarding people, different tolerance towards behavior?
Great question. And that's exactly what I was talking about in the beginning. We do have different tolerances, and often they're not shared. So have this conversation in your department. If you are the only one with a high tolerance, then you're setting a bar that your colleagues may not be comfortable with when they're working. So that's where it becomes tricky, right? You don't want to be seen as the person who lets everybody get away with everything. Talk about what they don't like, and questions I will ask. Noise is a perfect one. If this was a group of senior citizens, would we react the same way? If this was the debate prep team from our local high school, would we react the same way? Are we treating everybody fairly? Because that's the biggest issue, right, that we have. And then also talk to your other coworkers. Say, you know, I know I'm a little more tolerant of this than you are. Tell me why you don't like it. Because you need to get to the why it's bothering them. If it's just that they're loud and it's bothering me as a staff person, that's not good enough. It needs to be it's interfering with other people's ability to be in the library and do what they want to do. Could you offer that group then a study room where they can be a little bit louder? So talk to your coworkers about it. That's an important conversation for you to have, and then also to challenge them on why they are uncomfortable with that noise level or with that group gathering.
Okay, we have time for more questions. Don't be shy.
Well, I know that I tend to talk so fast, but I do so appreciate everyone's willingness to join us today on this webinar. This is my first attempt at it, so thank you. And please feel free to reach out directly if you have any specific questions you'd like to talk to me about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gail. That was a lot of helpful information, and I think we got a lot of really great question and answer practical tips for situations that, you know, we run into all the time, it feels like. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We have another Reaching Forward webinar next Friday at 1 o'clock. We're still working out the details on that. And as soon as that information is out, I encourage you to look into that and sign up for our next great webinar next week on the 15th. Thank you so much and have a great weekend.